The council chambers on Vex Prime Station hummed with the usual sounds of galactic politics. Hundreds of alien representatives filled the massive hall, their voices creating a strange music of clicks, growls, and whistles. At the center platform stood High Counselor Vrex, his forearms spread wide in a gesture of dominance. His insect-like eyes scanned the crowd with satisfaction. "The human fleet has been detected in Sector 7-9, Vrex announced. His voice carried through the translation devices worn by every delegate. "They dare to enter our space without permission." Ambassador Taimin stood quietly in the human section. He was a tall man with graying hair and calm eyes. He had served as Earth's representative for 5 years now. Next to him, his aide Jiwan shifted nervously. She was young and this was her first major diplomatic crisis. "How many ships?" asked Counselor Thress, a reptilian delegate known for his careful thinking. His green scales caught the light as he leaned forward. 50 vessels, Vrex said with a dismissive wave of one arm. A pathetic showing for a species that claims to explore the stars. Murmurs spread through the chamber. Most delegates seemed amused. Humanity had only been in space for 200 years. They were newcomers, barely worth noticing. The council represented civilizations that had traveled the stars for thousands of years. Taimin raised his hand to speak. The gesture was polite, patient. Vrex ignored him for a full minute before acknowledging the human. "Ambassador Taimin," Vrex said, his mandibles clicking in what might have been a smile. "Does your primitive species have something to say?" "We do," Taimin replied, his voice steady and clear. "The system in Sector 7-9 is unclaimed territory. According to the Galactic Exploration Charter of 2156, any species may explore and establish presence in unclaimed systems. That charter was written when we thought you humans might be civilized," Vrex shot back. Clearly we were mistaken. Laughter rippled through the chamber. Jiwan's hands clenched into fists, but Taimin remained calm. He had expected this. The council had grown arrogant over the centuries. They believed their technology and numbers made them untouchable. "We request 48 hours to complete our survey," Taimin said. "Then our fleet will move to the next system on our exploration route." "Denied," Vrex declared immediately. "You have 12 hours to withdraw. If you do not, we will remove your ships by force." Taimin looked directly at Vrex. Something flickered in the human ambassador's eyes, something that made Thress sit up straighter in his seat. It was not fear. It was not anger. It was something else entirely. "That would be unfortunate," Taimin said softly. "Is that a threat?" Vrex's voice rose with indignation. Several delegates gasped at the human's boldness. "No, High Counselor. It is merely an observation." Taimin bowed slightly. "We will transmit your decision to Fleet Admiral Hyunwoo. Your admiral can transmit his surrender," Vrex replied. "I propose we teach these humans a lesson they will not forget. All in favor of military action?" Arms, tentacles, and claws rose throughout the chamber. The vote was nearly unanimous. Only Thress and a handful of others abstained. The council had made its decision. 3 days later, 500 council warships surrounded the human fleet in Sector 7-9. The council forces were impressive, a mix of cruisers, battleships, and carriers from a dozen different species. Their weapons could crack planets. Their shields could withstand nuclear strikes. Admiral Hyunwoo stood on the bridge of his flagship, the Daehan. He was a veteran of 40 years in space. His face showed no emotion as he watched the council fleet take position. "Sir, they're hailing us," reported Jiwan, who had been assigned to the fleet as a liaison officer. "Put them through." A council commander appeared on screen. It was a being covered in blue fur with too many teeth. "Human vessels, you are ordered to power down your engines and prepare to be escorted out of this sector. Resistance will result in the destruction of your fleet," Hyunwoo nodded slowly. "Understood. We are powering down our weapons." Jiwan stared at her admiral in shock. Around the bridge, other officers looked confused. They had not expected surrender. "Sir," Jiwan whispered. "Follow my orders, Lieutenant," Hyunwoo said quietly. The human ships began to drift, their engines going dark. The council fleet moved closer, weapons still active. They were taking no chances. Then Hyunwoo gave another command. "Execute retreat pattern Delta 7. All ships withdraw to Rally Point Busan." The human fleet suddenly burst into motion. Their engines flared to life and they scattered in 50 different directions. The maneuver was so fast and coordinated that the council forces were caught completely off guard. Within minutes, the human ships had jumped to faster than light speed and vanished. The council commander roared in frustration. "Chase them! Don't let them escape." But the humans were gone. The council fleet searched for hours but found nothing. Back on Vex Prime, Vrex celebrated. "The humans ran like cowards. Let this be a lesson to any species that challenges the council's authority." The other delegates cheered and laughed. Only Thress remained quiet, his eyes thoughtful. Taemin walked through the corridors of the diplomatic section after the celebration ended. A small smile played on his lips. Ji-won caught up with him, confused and frustrated. "Ambassador, why did we retreat?" she asked. "We looked weak, cowardly." Taemin stopped and turned to face her. His smile grew wider. "Did we? They have 500 ships. We only had 50. They'll think we're afraid to fight." "Good," Taemin said simply. "Let them think that." "I don't understand." The ambassador looked at the young woman with something like pity. "You will, Lieutenant. Soon everyone will understand." He continued walking, leaving Ji-won standing alone in the corridor. She watched him go, a strange feeling growing in her chest. The ambassador did not seem worried. He did not seem defeated. If anything, he seemed satisfied. In his private quarters, Taemin activated his secure communication device. A hologram appeared showing a woman in a military uniform. She had stern features and eyes that had seen countless battles. "Grand Admiral Hae-won," Taemin greeted. "Ambassador, I heard about the council's vote." "They performed exactly as predicted," Taemin confirmed. "They believe we are weak. They believe they have won. And Admiral Hyunwoo's fleet, safe at Busan Rally Point. 0 casualties. The council thinks they scared us away." Hae-won nodded slowly. "Then we proceed to Phase 2? "Yes, Admiral. It's time to show them what 50 ships can do. Then we'll see how confident they feel." "Understood." Hae-won out, the hologram faded. Taemin poured himself a glass of water and looked out at the stars. The council had made a fatal mistake. They had assumed human weakness. They had assumed human cowardice. They had assumed this was humanity's only fleet. Somewhere in the depths of space, Admiral Hyunwoo was already planning his next move. And behind him, in systems the council had never explored, thousands of human ships waited in silence. 3 weeks passed after the incident in Sector 7-9. The council had declared victory and returned to their normal business. Trade continued. Ships moved between worlds. The galaxy forgot about the brief encounter with humanity. But not everyone forgot. Counselor Thress sat in his private office reviewing reports. His assistant, a younger reptilian named Kess, brought him the daily intelligence briefings. Most were routine. Border disputes, pirate activity, resource claims. Then Thress found something unusual. "Kess, what is this?" He pointed at a report marked with low priority. "A monitoring station detected unusual energy signatures near the Kairos Nebula, Counselor." "Nothing to worry about. These energy signatures match human ship drives." "Yes, sir." A few human vessels were spotted in the area. The station logged it and moved on. Thress stared at the report. Something felt wrong. "How many ships?" "The report says approximately 50 vessels, sir." 50 ships. The same number that had retreated from Sector 7-9. Thress pulled up a star map. The Kairos Nebula was 3 sectors away from the original incident. What were humans doing there? "Contact the Council Military Command," Thress ordered. "I want to know if we have any fleets near Kairos Nebula." "Sir, is that necessary?" "It's probably just another exploration group." "Do it anyway." Kess bowed and left. Thress continued to study the map. His instincts told him something was about to happen. Something bad. Fleet Marshal Daejung commanded the 2nd Response Fleet. It was a defensive force stationed near the Council's inner territories. 200 ships, all well-armed and crewed by experienced warriors. Daejung was a human in his 50s, with silver hair and a calm demeanor. He had spent 30 years in space, most of it commanding small patrol groups. This was his first major fleet command. "Marshal, we're approaching Kairos Nebula," reported his navigation officer. "Sensors are picking up multiple contacts. How many?" 50 confirmed. They matched the profile of the fleet that retreated from Sector 7-9. Daejung nodded. "All ships, battle formation. Prepare for engagement." His fleet spread out in a defensive sphere. The Council had sent 500 ships to chase the humans before. Daejung had only 200. But he was confident. The Council ships were powerful and their crews were skilled. The human vessels emerged from the nebula's edge. They were smaller than council ships, sleeker. Their hulls were dark gray, almost black. No bright colors or decorations, just functional military design. A council commander opened a communication channel. Human vessels, you are in violation of council space. Surrender immediately or be destroyed. No response came from the human fleet. I repeat, surrender or be destroyed. Still nothing. Then the human ships moved. They scattered in different directions, moving faster than the council sensors predicted. Daejung barely had time to shout orders before the first human weapons fired. Captain Yuna commanded a human frigate named the Gwangju. She was young for a captain, only 32, but she had trained her entire adult life for combat. Her ship was small compared to council cruisers, but it was fast and deadly. Target their shield generators, Yuna ordered. Fire pattern Alpha. Her weapons officer launched a spread of missiles. They were not explosive warheads. They were kinetic penetrators. Solid bars of dense metal accelerated to incredible speeds. The missiles struck a council cruiser's shields and punched straight through. The cruiser's shields flickered and died. Again, Yuna said calmly. All weapons. The Gwangju unleashed everything. Railguns, plasma cannons. More kinetic missiles. The council cruiser tried to maneuver, but it was too slow. Explosions rippled across its hull. Within 2 minutes, the massive ship was drifting, dead in space. Next target, Yuna said, already moving her frigate toward another council vessel. Daejung watched in horror as his fleet fell apart. The human ships were everywhere, moving in patterns that seemed random but were perfectly coordinated. They targeted shield generators first, then weapon systems, then engines. It was surgical precision. All ships focus fire on single targets, Daejung commanded. Don't let them pick us apart. But it was too late. The humans had separated the council fleet into small groups. Each group faced multiple human attackers. When council ships tried to regroup, human vessels would appear from different angles and cut them off. Yuna's frigate destroyed its third cruiser. Her crew was efficient and deadly. They had practiced these maneuvers thousands of times in simulation. Now in real combat, everything worked perfectly. Captain, we're receiving orders to pull back, her communications officer reported. Already? Yuna sounded disappointed. We've only been fighting for 20 minutes. Orders are orders, Captain. Yuna sighed. Fine, all weapons fire farewell salvo. Then retreat to Rally Point Jeju. Her ship launched one last spread of missiles at a council battleship, then accelerated away at maximum speed. Around the battlefield, other human ships did the same. They had appeared suddenly, struck hard, and now vanished just as quickly. Daejung counted his losses. 80 ships destroyed or disabled. Nearly 40% of his fleet was gone. The humans had lost maybe 5 vessels. Maybe. He slumped in his command chair, unable to believe what had happened. On a council monitoring station far from the battle, So-hyun studied her screens with growing concern. She was a human intelligence analyst, one of several embedded with council forces as part of diplomatic exchange programs. Her job was to monitor ship movements and report anything unusual. What she saw now was very unusual. Computer, show me all detected human ship signatures from the last month, she commanded. The screen filled with data. So-hyun's eyes widened. There were human vessels in 5 different sectors, not just 50 ships in each location, not even 100, multiple fleets, multiple groups, all moving independently. She pulled up communication logs and cross-referenced them with jump signatures. Each fleet had its own designation. 2nd Response Fleet, 4th Exploration Group, 9th Patrol Wing. The names went on and on. So-hyun reached for her communication device, then stopped. Who would she report this to? She worked for the council, but she was human. Her loyalty was complicated. Instead, she encrypted her findings and sent them to both Council Intelligence and to Ambassador Tae-min. Let them both know what was happening. Councillor Thress received So-hyun's report within hours. He read it 3 times, then called for an emergency council session. Frex was annoyed at being disturbed. What is so urgent, Thress? The High Councillor demanded. The humans, High Councillor. They have more ships than we thought. We know this. We detected their fleet. 50 ships running away like frightened children. No, sir. Multiple fleets. This analyst detected human vessels in 5 different sectors. Each group appears to be operating independently. Frex waved a dismissive arm. A few exploration ships. Nothing to worry about. One of those groups just destroyed 80 warships from Marshal Daejung's fleet. The chamber went silent. Every delegate stared at Thres. That's impossible, Rex said, but his voice was less certain. Daejung commands 200 ships. Professional warriors. The humans had 200 vessels as well, High Counselor. And they won! Rex's mandibles clicked nervously. Then we send more ships. Mobilize the Central Armada. 2,000 vessels. Let's see how well the humans fight against real military power. High Counselor, perhaps we should talk to them first. Negotiate. Understand what they want. No. Rex stood, his forearms spread wide. We do not negotiate with species that attack Council forces. We crush them. We show the galaxy what happens when anyone challenges our authority. Thres bowed and sat down. He had tried to warn them. Now they would learn the hard way. In his quarters, Ambassador Taemin received Sohyun's intelligence report. He smiled and drafted a message to Grand Admiral Hae-Won. They're sending the Central Armada. 2,000 ships. Just as we predicted. Hae-Won's response came quickly. Good, time for Phase 3. Let's show them what happens when they fight seriously. Taemin looked out at the stars. The Council had no idea what was coming. They thought they had seen humanity's military power. They thought 200 ships was impressive. They were about to learn how wrong they were. 2 months after the Battle of Kiros Nebula, the Council Central Armada moved through space like a steel storm. 2,000 warships from 15 different species. The largest military force assembled in 50 years. High Counselor Vrex had declared this would be the final solution to the human problem. Admiral Sang-Ho watched the Council fleet approach through long-range sensors. He commanded Defense Fleet Baekdu, positioned near a cluster of mining colonies. His 300 ships were spread across 2 star systems, appearing to guard resources that humans had recently claimed. Sir, the Council fleet is splitting into 3 groups, his tactical officer reported. They're trying to surround us. Sang-Ho was older than most fleet commanders, nearly 70 years old. His face showed the lines of decades in space. But his eyes were sharp and his mind was sharper. Let them split up, he said calmly. It makes our job easier. Around him, younger officers exchanged glances. The Council had 2,000 ships. Humans had 300 in this sector. The math did not look good, but Sang-Ho knew something they did not. Lieutenant Yunji flew her stealth reconnaissance ship through empty space, far from any battle. Her vessel was small, barely larger than a shuttle, but it was equipped with the most advanced sensors humanity had ever built. Her job was simple: find things and report them. For the past week, she had been mapping Council territory, looking for military installations and supply routes. What she found was interesting but not surprising. The Council had fortresses on key worlds. They had supply depots scattered across their space. Standard military planning. Then she found something else. Computer magnify Sector 472, Yunji commanded. Her screen zoomed in on a star system deep in Council space. What she saw made her breath catch. Shipyards. Massive construction facilities orbiting 3 different planets. But these were not Council shipyards, they were human. Yunji counted the docks. 12 massive berths, each one building a warship. Around them, smaller facilities produced components and weapons. Mining ships brought in raw materials from asteroid belts. Everything was automated, efficient, and visible to casual observation. How did we build this without them noticing? Yunji whispered to herself. She activated her recorder and documented everything. Then she moved to the next system on her list, and found more shipyards, and then more. By the end of her reconnaissance run, Yunji had discovered human construction facilities in 12 different star systems. Most of them were in remote areas, far from Council patrol routes. But some were hiding in plain sight, disguised as mining operations or research stations. She transmitted her findings back to Fleet Intelligence and continued her mission. Captain Jae-hoon was not a military officer. He commanded a civilian merchant ship called the Incheon Dream. His cargo holds were filled with food, medical supplies, and manufacturing equipment, standard trade goods being delivered to human colonies. Or so he told the Council patrol that stopped him. Human vessel, prepare to be boarded for inspection, the Council commander announced over the communication channel. Jae-hoon sighed. This was the 3rd time this month. Understood. Cutting engines now. Council soldiers came aboard his ship in full combat armor. They looked intimidating with their weapons and scanners. Jae-hoon and his small crew stood calmly while the aliens searched their vessel. What are you carrying? The council boarding officer demanded. Food and supplies for the colonies, Jae-hoon replied honestly. Check the manifest if you want. The officer did check. Everything appeared legitimate. Food, medicine, tools, nothing military. The council soldiers searched for 2 hours and found nothing suspicious. Where are you taking these supplies? The officer asked. Colony Cluster Daegu. About 4 days from here at standard drive speed. We have no record of human colonies in that sector. Jae-hoon shrugged. They're new. Established about 6 months ago. We have permission from the colonial authority. The officer checked his datapad. There was indeed a human colonial authority claim filed for that sector. Everything seemed legitimate. You're clear to go, the officer finally said. But we'll be watching. Of course, Jae-hoon said with a smile. Safe travels. The council soldiers left. Jae-hoon waited until they were gone before allowing himself to relax. His first officer, a woman named Miran, came to stand beside him. That was close, Miran said quietly. They didn't check deep enough. Jae-hoon replied. They saw food and medicine and stopped looking. Good thing they didn't find the fabrication equipment or the ship components hidden in the cargo containers. Miran smiled. How many ships do you think we're supporting with these runs? Dozens, maybe hundreds. I don't know the full picture. I just deliver what I'm told to deliver. And the colonial fleets? Jae-hoon looked at her seriously. I don't talk about the colonial fleets. Neither should you. Miran nodded and returned to her station. Jae-hoon looked out at the stars. The council had no idea how many humans were out here. They thought in terms of exploration fleets and military groups. They did not understand that humans had been colonizing space for decades, building not just on pleasant worlds but on asteroids, moons, and stations. Each colony needed ships. Each colony built ships. The council saw military fleets. They did not see the thousands of civilian vessels that could be converted to military use in days. On Vex Prime Station, Counselor Thress sat in an emergency intelligence briefing. So-hyun presented her findings, her voice steady despite the shocking information she delivered. We have confirmed 47 distinct human fleet signatures, So-hyun reported. Each fleet ranges from 150 to 300 vessels. That's approximately 10,000 ships. The room erupted in chaos. Delegates shouted in a dozen languages. Frex slammed his arms on the table. Impossible, the High Counselor roared. The humans have only been in space for 200 years. They cannot have 10,000 warships. The data does not lie, High Counselor, So-hyun said calmly. She displayed images on the screens around the room. These are jump signatures recorded by monitoring stations across 5 sectors. Each signature is unique. Each belongs to a different fleet. Where did they get the resources? Demanded another counselor. Where did they build these ships? We're still investigating, but we believe they have been building in secret for decades. Hidden shipyards, automated factories. They used remote systems that we never bothered to claim or explore. Thress studied the data carefully. This means they have been planning this for a very long time. The retreat from Sector 7-9 was not cowardice. It was strategy. Nonsense, Vrex snapped. They're still inferior. Our Central Armada will crush whatever fleet they send against us. High Counselor, with respect, we have already engaged 3 separate human fleets. We have suffered significant casualties in each encounter. If they truly have 47 fleets, we are severely outnumbered. Then we call for full mobilization. Every member species must contribute ships. We will assemble 50,000 vessels if necessary. That would take months, possibly years, Thress pointed out. Then we start now. Vrex stood and pointed at So-hyun. You, human. You will tell us everything you know about your species' military capabilities. So-hyun looked at the High Counselor with calm eyes. I am an intelligence analyst, High Counselor, not a military planner. I know what the data shows, nothing more. You're lying. All humans are lying. This is a conspiracy. Believing that does not change the facts, sir. Vrex's mandibles clicked in fury, but he could not argue with logic. He turned to his military advisors. I want full intelligence reports on every human colony, every human ship, every human facility. I want to know exactly what we're facing. The advisors bowed and left to carry out their orders. Thress remained in his seat, thinking hard. 10,000 ships was a conservative estimate based on detected fleets. What if there were more? What if the humans had vessels they had not yet revealed? The thought was terrifying. Back on Earth, in a command center buried deep beneath the surface, Grand Admiral HFY reviewed the same intelligence reports that So-hyun had presented to the Council. Her second-in-command, Commander Bora, stood at her side. "They're panicking," Bora observed. "Good," HFY replied. "Fear makes them careless. They'll mobilize everything they have and leave their core worlds vulnerable." Ambassador Taemin reports that Vrex has refused all diplomatic contact. Even better, let them think military force is their only option. Bora pulled up a star map showing human fleet positions. Red markers indicated military vessels. Blue markers showed civilian ships. Green markers represented hidden facilities and construction yards. "When do we reveal the full strength?" Bora asked. "Not yet. Let them find a few more fleets. Let them think they're figuring out our secrets. When they believe they know everything, then we show them the truth." "And the reserve fleets?" HFY smiled slightly. "Those stay hidden for now. The Council needs to learn respect before we show them real power." Bora nodded. She pulled up production reports from shipyards across human space. New vessels were completing construction every day. Older civilian ships were being refitted with military equipment. Colonies that had never seen combat were training defense forces. Humanity was not preparing for a battle. They were preparing for total war, and the Council had no idea what was coming. The Council war room was in chaos. 3 months of fighting had drained their confidence. High Counselor Vrex stood before a massive holographic display, showing battle reports from across the front lines. None of the news was good. 15,000 ships, Vrex said, his voice hollow. "We mobilized 15,000 warships from every member species. How are we losing?" Military Commander Drax, a four-armed warrior from a species known for their tactical genius, pointed at the display. "The humans are not fighting conventionally, High Counselor. They strike in small groups, destroy our supply lines, then vanish before we can respond. We cannot pin them down for a decisive battle, then hunt them down. Use every resource we have." "We are trying, sir. But they seem to know where we will be before we arrive. Their intelligence network is better than ours." Counselor Thress spoke from his seat at the war table. "Perhaps it is time to negotiate. We have lost thousands of ships. They have lost hundreds. The mathematics are clear. No." Vrex slammed his arms on the table. "We do not negotiate from a position of weakness. We will call for a peace conference, but it will be a trap. We will lure their leaders into neutral space and capture them. Then we will force their surrender." Thress opened his mouth to object, then closed it. There was no point arguing. Vrex had gone mad with desperation. The peace conference was scheduled on a neutral space station called Haven Point. It was an old facility, maintained by neither Council nor human forces. Perfect for diplomatic meetings, Ambassador Taemin agreed to attend. He would bring a small diplomatic vessel and an escort of 50 ships. Standard protocol for high-level meetings. Grand Admiral HFY prepared to travel with Taemin. Her flagship, the Soul, was a massive vessel, larger than most Council battleships. But she would only bring 50 escort ships to the conference. It was a gesture of good faith. Commander Bora reviewed the mission briefing with concern. "Admiral, intelligence suggests the Council may attempt an ambush." "I know," HFY replied calmly. She was a woman in her 60s with short gray hair and eyes that missed nothing. "That's why we're bringing more than 50 ships. The agreement was for 50 escort vessels only. The agreement was for 50 visible escort vessels. It said nothing about ships that arrive after we do." Bora smiled. "Understood, Admiral." The Soul arrived at Haven Point exactly on schedule. 50 human warships took positions around the neutral station. Sensors showed no Council ships nearby. Everything appeared peaceful. Taemin and HFY boarded the station together along with a small group of aides and security personnel. The Council delegation was already waiting in the conference chamber. Vrex sat at the head of the table, flanked by military commanders and advisors. Counselor Thress sat to one side looking uncomfortable. Other delegates filled the remaining seats. Ambassador Taemin, Grand Admiral HFY, welcome, Vrex said with false courtesy. "Please sit. We have much to discuss." HFY and Taemin took their seats. Bora stood behind the Admiral, her hand near her sidearm. "The Council wishes to end this conflict," Vrex began, "but we need assurances that humanity will respect our territory and our authority." "Of course," Taemin replied smoothly. "We have always respected the Council's legitimate claims. It is the Council that has attacked our exploration fleets without provocation. Your fleets entered restricted space. Unclaimed space, according to your own exploration charter. Vrex's mandibles clicked in irritation. This was not going as planned. He gave a subtle signal to his military commander. Outside the station, space rippled. 1,000 Council warships dropped out of faster-than-light travel. They had been hiding nearby, waiting for the signal. Now they surrounded Haven Point and the 50 human escort ships. I'm afraid we must insist on new terms, Vrex said, no longer pretending to be diplomatic. You will surrender command of all human military forces to Council authority. Your fleets will be disbanded. Your colonies will accept Council governance. HFY did not look surprised. She did not even look concerned. She simply activated a small device on her wrist. You should look outside, High Counselor, she said quietly. The conference room's windows became transparent, showing the space around the station. More ships were arriving. Human ships, thousands of them. They appeared in perfect formation, dropping out of FTL in waves, battleships, cruisers, carriers, destroyers. They kept coming, more and more, until the space around Haven Point was filled with human vessels. Vrex stood so quickly his chair fell over. What is this? Bora stepped forward and activated a holographic display. It showed fleet rosters, ship names, and commanders. The list scrolled for several minutes. 73 combat fleets, Bora announced in a clear voice. Each fleet contains between 400 and 800 warships. Total human naval power present, 45,000 vessels. The room went silent. Even the translation devices seemed to stop working as every delegate tried to process what they had just heard. That's impossible, Vrex whispered. It's very possible, HFY replied. We've been building for 150 years. While you were conquering and expanding, we were preparing. We learned from Earth's history, High Counselor. We learned that the unprepared die and the prepared survive. Taman stood and walked to the window. Do you see that formation? He pointed at a section of the human fleet. That's the Colonial Defense Network. 20 fleets, each one dedicated to protecting civilian settlements. And that formation, he pointed elsewhere, exploration security, 15 fleets assigned to guard scientific missions. And those ships? Vrex asked, pointing at the largest vessels. The home fleet. 12 fleets that have never left the Sol system, until today. Thres had gone completely still. His mind was racing through the implications. You've been hiding your true strength since first contact. Every time we saw your ships, we were only seeing a fraction of your military. Correct, HFY confirmed. The 50 ships in Sector 7-9. Exploration Fleet Dehan, the 200 ships at Kairos Nebula. Second Response Fleet, every time you fought us, you were fighting less than 1% of our total strength. Why? Thres asked. Why hide? Why not reveal your power from the beginning? Because we did not want war, Taman said. We wanted peace. We wanted to explore, to trade, to learn. But we also knew that showing weakness invites attack. So we showed just enough strength to defend ourselves, hoping the Council would eventually accept us as equals. Instead, you attacked us, HFY added. You threatened us. You tried to bully us into submission. So now we must demonstrate why that was a mistake. Bora activated another display. This one showed real-time positions of human ships across Council space. Red markers appeared above every Council core world. Above their capital planets. Above their industrial centers. Above their military headquarters. 15,000 additional ships, Bora said calmly. Positioned above every important Council location. They arrived while we were talking. One word from the Admiral and your civilization ends. Vrex collapsed back into his chair. His forearms shook. Around the table, other Council delegates looked stunned, terrified, defeated. But we don't want to destroy you, HFY continued. We never did. We want peace. Real peace between equals. Equals. Vrex's voice cracked. You have 60,000 warships. We have 15,000 left, and most of those are damaged from fighting your scout forces. Then you understand the situation, Taman said gently. We can destroy you. We can occupy your worlds. We can do to you what you plan to do to us. Or we can talk. We can negotiate a real treaty, one based on mutual respect and shared interests. Thres stood slowly. His legs felt weak. You still have more ships, don't you? This isn't everything. HFY smiled slightly. We have 30 reserve fleets in the Sol system. They have never left Earth's vicinity. If this conference fails, If the Council refuses peace, those fleets will deploy. But I hope we don't reach that point. How? Frex asked. How did you build so many ships without us knowing? We didn't build them without you knowing, Taemin explained. We built them without you caring. You saw human colony ships and thought they were civilian vessels. You saw mining operations and never checked what we were mining. You saw construction facilities and assumed they were making habitats. You saw what you expected to see and ignored what was actually there. We used automated systems, Bora added. Our shipyards don't need large crews. 100 people can oversee construction of 1,000 ships. We built facilities and systems you never explored because you thought they were worthless. Asteroid belts, dead systems, ice worlds, places with resources but no habitable planets. And we built slowly, Haywan said, one ship at a time, one facility at a time. Over 150 years, those small additions became an overwhelming force. Patience, High Counselor. That was our greatest weapon. Patience and planning. The conference room was silent for a long time. Finally, Thress spoke. What are your terms for peace? Recognition as a sovereign power, Taemin listed. Freedom to explore and colonize unclaimed space. Open trade agreements. Mutual defense pact. Technology exchange programs. And most importantly, a seat on the Galactic Council with full voting rights. That's it? Thress sounded surprised. You have the power to demand anything. You could demand tribute, territory, submission. 6 months after the treaty signing, the new Galactic Council chambers opened for business. The building was larger than before, with space for additional members. Humanity now occupied a prominent section, with comfortable seating for their delegates and full access to council networks. Ambassador Taemin walked through the halls with confidence. Other delegates nodded respectfully as he passed. The change in attitude was remarkable. 6 months ago, council members had treated humans like ignorant children. Now they treated them like dangerous equals. Counselor Thress approached with a friendly gesture. Ambassador, welcome back. How was your visit to Earth? Enlightening, Taemin replied. The council observers were impressed with our shipyards, though I think they were also frightened. Can you blame them? Your automated facilities produce more vessels in a month than most council species build in a year. We did try to warn everyone, but nobody wanted to listen. Thress made a sound that might have been a laugh. That is true. Frex certainly learned his lesson. The former High Counselor had resigned after the peace treaty. His reputation was destroyed, his pride shattered. Thress had been elected to replace him. The council had chosen someone who valued caution over arrogance. How is the integration proceeding? Taemin asked. Better than expected. Your technology exchange program is very generous. The medical advances alone have saved millions of lives across council space. And your defensive tactics are revolutionizing our military training. That was the point. Peace works better when everyone benefits. They entered the main chamber together. The room was filling with delegates from hundreds of species. Humans sat alongside council members, no longer segregated or isolated. Admiral Hyunwoo was there, now serving as a military liaison. Commander Bora attended as well, representing fleet coordination efforts. Minister Da-un rose to present the latest human colonial expansion report. She was a civilian administrator, responsible for managing humanity's growing network of settlements. The council recognizes Minister Da-un, Thress announced formally. Da-un activated a holographic display showing a star map. Blue markers indicated human colonies. There were hundreds of them, spread across multiple sectors. Over the past 6 months, humanity has established 120 new colonies, Da-un reported. We project 500 additional settlements over the next decade. All of these colonies will be in unclaimed space, respecting the territorial integrity of council members. A delegate from a bird-like species raised a wing. Minister, how do you sustain such rapid expansion? Our species takes decades to establish a single successful colony. Preparation and efficiency, Da-un explained. Each colony ship carries everything needed for immediate self-sufficiency. Automated construction equipment builds shelters and infrastructure within weeks. Food production begins immediately using hydroponics and synthetic nutrients. Within 6 months, a new colony can support 10,000 people and begin industrial production. And your population growth? Another delegate asked. Where do you find so many people willing to leave their homeworlds? Humanity has always been explorers, Da-un said with a smile. We have 15 billion people in the Sol system alone. Millions volunteer for colonial assignments every year. The waiting lists are years long. Murmurs spread through the chamber. The council was beginning to understand just how different humans were. Most species expanded slowly, carefully establishing one colony every few decades. Humans were planting settlements like seeds, dozens at a time, transforming entire sectors into human space within a generation. Will this not lead to conflict? A cautious delegate asked. So much expansion so quickly? That's why we're presenting our plans to the council, Daun replied. We want transparency. We want everyone to know where we're going and what we're building. No more secrets. No more surprises. Thress nodded approvingly. The council appreciates humanity's openness. It builds trust. After the presentation, Admiral Hyunwoo took the floor. His topic was joint military training exercises. Since the peace treaty, human and council forces had been conducting cooperative missions. The results have been excellent, Hyunwoo reported. Mixed crews are operating at 90% efficiency after just 3 months of training. Our tactical doctrines complement each other well. Council ships provide heavy firepower and strong shields. Human ships provide speed and precision weapons. Together, we're more effective than either side alone. He displayed footage from a recent exercise. Human frigates worked alongside Council battleships, coordinating their attacks against simulated enemies. The combination was devastating. We recommend expanding the joint training program, Hyunwoo continued. Every Council fleet should have at least one human liaison officer. Every human fleet should have Council observers. This builds understanding and prevents miscommunication. I support this proposal, Thress said. All in favor? The vote was unanimous. Human and Council forces would train together, learn from each other, become a unified military power. In the back of the chamber, a young pilot named Kyung-min watched the proceedings with interest. He had just graduated from the Naval Academy and would soon receive his first assignment. He hoped to serve on one of the new mixed crew vessels. Kyung-min represented a new generation. He had grown up after first contact. He had trained alongside Council species. To him, aliens were not strangers or enemies. They were colleagues and friends. After the Council session ended, Tae-min invited Thress to his quarters for a private conversation. The two leaders had become genuine friends over the past months. You know the real secret, don't you? Tae-min said, pouring drinks for both of them. Which secret? Thress asked. You have so many. The 30 reserve fleets. The ones that never left Seoul? Ah, yes. Admiral Hae-won mentioned them at the peace conference. Surely you have deployed those fleets by now? Tae-min smiled. They never existed. Thress nearly dropped his drink. What? A bluff? We had 60,000 ships. That's all. The 30 reserve fleets were fictional. If you had called our bluff and kept fighting, we would have been in serious trouble. But the Admiral spoke so confidently. Hae-won is an excellent poker player. So am I. We gambled that the 60,000 ships would be enough to force peace, and we were right. Thress sat back in his chair processing this information. Then he started laughing. You magnificent liars. You convinced us you were even stronger than you actually were. It was necessary. We had to make you believe resistance was hopeless. If the Council had known 60,000 was our maximum force, you might have kept fighting. You might have mobilized 100,000 ships and overwhelmed us through sheer numbers. We couldn't have mobilized that many ships, Thress admitted. The logistics alone would have been impossible. But you didn't know that. No, we didn't, so we bluffed, and it worked. Will you ever build those 30 reserve fleets? Eventually. We have the shipyards. We have the resources. In another 10 years, we probably will have 90,000 ships. But for now, 60,000 is enough. Thress raised his drink. To successful bluffs and honest negotiations. Tae-min clinked his glass against the counselors. To peace. They drank together. Two leaders from different species, building something new. 3 weeks later, alarms sounded across Council space. Long-range sensors had detected something approaching from outside the galaxy. Something big, something unknown. Emergency Council sessions were called. Data was analyzed. The conclusions were troubling. An alien armada was approaching. Not Council, not human, something else entirely. Thousands of ships, possibly tens of thousands, moving toward inhabited space. We don't know their intentions, a Council scientist reported. They could be explorers. They could be traders. But their formation suggests military organization. Thress looked at Tae-min. Can your fleets respond? Our fleets are your fleets now. Taemin replied. We're all council members. We face this together. Admiral Hyunwoo stood and walked to the display. If this is a hostile force, we'll need every ship we have. Council and human forces combined. Agreed, Thress said. How long until they arrive? 6 months, maybe less. Then we have 6 months to prepare. Together. The council voted immediately to mobilize all available forces. Human ships would integrate fully with council fleets. Joint command structures would be established. Defensive positions would be prepared. Grand Admiral Haewon took command of the combined fleet. Under her leadership, 70,000 warships took up positions along the galaxy's edge. Human vessels worked alongside council ships, crews mixed, tactics shared. Commander Bora coordinated logistics. Resources flowed from human colonies and council worlds alike. Supplies, ammunition, repair facilities. Everything needed for a sustained defense. Young pilot Kyung-min received his assignment. A mixed crew destroyer with a council captain and human weapons officer. His first mission would be defending the galaxy alongside species that had been enemies just months before. Are you nervous? His roommate asked as they prepared to ship out. A little, Kyung-min admitted, but also excited. This is what we trained for. This is why the peace treaty mattered. Now we're strong enough to face any threat. Do you think we'll win? I think we have a chance. Humanity and the Council together? That's the most powerful force in the galaxy.